think that it was possible, but let me tell you, today, I love my husband even more than I did 4 years ago, even more than I did 23 years ago when we first met.
Michelle, I love you so much. A few nights ago, everybody was reminded just what a lucky man I am.
Wow! Of course, that was the president and the First Lady a few weeks ago at the Democratic National Convention, where it was clear that 4 years in the White House have brought them even closer together. So we are honored to welcome for the very first time together on The View. Each of them has been here before, but we are happy to welcome the President and the First Lady of the United States, Barack and Michelle Obama. Yes. You brought your own lunch?
Before we get started, Barbara has visited the White House often.
Yes.
And every time she goes, she says that she pilfers something.
Right.
So we decided that for her birthday, rather than her having to steal napkins, we would go ahead and just bring the stuff to her. So we've got... In addition to the paper napkins, which is what usually she takes, we've actually brought some cloth napkins as well. We've got White House M&Ms. Got a deck of Marine One playing cards. Some White House beer.
Everybody wants to have a beer with you.
And I'm not sure this is entirely appropriate, Barbara, but we have a White House golf ball. So you don't have to be stuffing things.
I'm sorry.
You know,
She has your
next
wallet
time.
right now. You just don't know it yet.
Happy birthday, though.
Thank you, Mr.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you.
Almost having a birthday, not so bad.
President, is the beer open?
The beer's not open yet. We're going to set it right here.
Right next to me?
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll share, Bob. We'll share.
It needs to be chilled properly before we exit.
We'll talk later. We're very happy that you came on with us, Mrs. Obama, and brought your date.
I brought him with me.
Yeah.
He had a few minutes in his
You know,
schedule.
Yes.
I told folks I'm just supposed to be eye candy here for you guys.
Well, we have been accused of being sharp-tongued, so we're going to start off very gentle.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're going to work our way up or down.
sharp-tongued.
So you are about to celebrate your 20th wedding anniversary,
Yeah,
October 3rd. October 3rd is
Is she always this silly when she's on the show?
only with you. You were different when you were with her, by the way.
That's true.
Okay, so October 3rd, your 20th wedding anniversary, is the night of the first debate.
Go
So,
figure.
yeah, exactly. They did it on purpose. So how are you going to celebrate?
Well, I think we're going to try.
You're going to celebrate maybe by trying to win the
on
debate.
Saturday, we're going to be doing something as opposed to the actual anniversary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
She's eating your M&Ms.
Are you eating my birthday present?
No.
There are.
President Obama, are you a romantic kind of husband?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that he is. He's really good. Actually, he tells this story, so I'm going to tell it. Our first wedding anniversary, I totally forgot. I totally forgot about it because it was on the weekend, and he said, "Well, what are we going to do on Saturday?" And I was like, "Well, what's Saturday?" and it was our anniversary, and I forgot. So, yeah.
Yeah, and people call you cold.
See
huh?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I like lavishing her with all kinds of attention when she deserves it, and she always deserves
Do you
it.
have time to lavish?
Well,
No.
not right now.
I want to ask you, describe your husband's personality. Because we hear, you know, aloof, cold,
Yeah,
unemotional, all those sweet things. Describe his personality.
You know,
Well, I want you to say he's aloof, cold,
yeah,
and
right.
unemotional.
No. He's very loving. He's very giving. He's very open. He's funny. I'm funnier. So, but we understand that. He's very funny.
Does he ever raise his voice? Does he ever get angry?
Yeah. No, he can't. But he's not that. He's not. He doesn't have emotional shifts. I mean, he's very steady.
No mood swings.
Yeah, I can make him mad. I'm probably one of the few people who can really make him mad.
Why? How do you get him to? How do you make him mad?
Any number of ways.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Am I being thoroughly unreasonable?
Now, is there? I heard that there's a plaque in Chicago.
Oh, God.
It marks the site of your first
so
kiss.
embarrassing.
Tell us about that first kiss.
No, this is very sweet.
See, she says it's embarrassing. He says
It's a
it's sweet.
plaque in our neighborhood. It's like, tell us about that first
we didn't know anything about it.
No, we didn't. Until we
and
saw it in the paper.
Somebody just did this. Our first date, we were at a law firm together. I was a summer associate. She was already practicing law. And I had been sort of eyeing her for a while, but she was acting real professional.
I was acting real professional. Shame on me.
So finally, I wear her down a little bit, and I say, "We're coming back, I guess, from a firm picnic."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, let's go get some ice cream." And we went to Baskin Robbins on 53rd Street in Chicago, and she bought chocolate. I don't remember what I bought, and they didn't have any seats inside the store, so we sat out on a curb on a summer day and had ice cream, and that's when I asked her if I could kiss her.
Oh, you asked
so,
her, yeah.
of course. Yeah. I mean, I didn't just,
Did you make him wait for the answer? Yes, no?
No, she was fine with it, I think. So anyway, I wrote about this in my book, in my second book, and somehow somebody read that, and they ended up just creating a plaque on the curb where we had sat, saying this is where the president and the first lady first kissed. And that was so nice. It was
It's
really
like
sweet
Romeo
of
and
them.
Juliet.
It was very sweet of them.
We were actually talking about the kids backstage, the girls, and Malia's, 14? And Sasha's 11.
Yep.
Is it true that before you spoke at the Democratic National Convention that you had a really kind of special moment with them?
Well,
Can you share?
this is an example of how they make sure I don't take myself too seriously. So we're backstage, and it's all covered up, and people are whispering into their various headphones and this and that. And I'm about to go on cue, and suddenly I see Malia and Sasha. They're kind of spinning around and doing something. I said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "This is just like in the Hannah Montana movie." Right before Hannah goes out, and it's all enclosed like this, and then Billy Ray says to her, "Go get him, baby." And then they started performing the whole scene and cracking themselves up. And then suddenly it's all the President of the United States, and I had to walk out thinking about Hannah Montana. That was what it was on my mind at the convention.
That you like to have dinner when you can with the family. And I know that you're so busy.
But every night, if we're home, at 6:30, we have dinner.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But you don't bring your stuff to the table, right?
No.
What happens to you during the day? So how do you know what his day is like? Do you have pillow talk, or what goes on?
We go over the broad aspects of all of our days. That's what we talk about. And he's usually last. The girl's like, "So what'd you do?" And it's like, get it, and then it's like, "Okay, Dad, that's enough." But it's usually after, because the girls will take Bo out for a walk, and we usually get a little time at the table just by ourselves, and that's when we kind of catch up on serious stuff. But, sometimes a lot of the things that Barack feels, like those moments with families who's lost, we want to talk to the girls about those things as well. Just let them understand, first of all, what their dad's doing every day and what's going on in people's lives, so that, we're always having that lesson. You were blessed, you better understand this. I don't want to hear you complaining, because there are people with real issues, and understand that the world is complex and difficult in ways for people that you will never know. So you've got to, you've got to know about these things and show empathy. So it's really important to have those conversations.
How do you shield them from negative stuff that's coming at the president?
They hear some of it, but they're pretty tough. I mean, I know Malia one day came home and she was talking about a discussion they were having about current affairs, and they brought up something Dad did, and some people didn't agree, and you asked, well, how do you feel about that? And she was like, she said, that's your business.
Well, we're going to come back. We're going to come back and ask you some questions yourself that are not as sweet and kind as these have been. We'll see. Okay, stay with us. All right. We'll be right back with President First Lady.
Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. Okay, I want to talk about Libya for a second, because on 9/11 of this past year, our embassy was attacked there, and we lost 4 people, including the ambassador. And it was reported that people just went crazy and wild because of this anti-Muslim movie, or anti-Muhammad, I guess, movie. But then I heard Hillary Clinton say that it was an act of terrorism. Is it? What do you say?
Well, we're still doing an investigation. There's no doubt that the kind of weapons that were used, the ongoing assault, that it wasn't just a mob action. Now, we don't have all the information yet, and so we're still gathering it. But what's clear is that around the world, there's still a lot of threats out there. That's why we have to maintain the strongest military in the world. That's why we can't let down our guard when it comes to the intelligence work that we do, and staying on top of not just Al-Qaeda, the traditional Al-Qaeda in Pakistan and Afghanistan, but all these various fringe groups that have started to develop. The tragedy is that Chris Stevens, the ambassador who was killed there, was actually somebody who was beloved by many Libyans. He's one of the people who helped to guide our policy as we liberated Libya and got rid of Gaddafi, who had murdered not only Libyans, but also Americans. And what's been interesting just this past week, there were these massive protests against these extremist militias that are suspected maybe having been involved in this attack. Libyans came out on the streets and said, Chris Stevens was our friend, and we're not going to tolerate this anymore. And part of, I think, the message for us is that the overwhelming majority of Muslims, they want the same things that families here want. They want opportunity, kids want an education, they want jobs, they want peace. But there are extremist strains that are there, and these countries are still going through transitions, so they don't have strong institutions. They don't have a strong police force, a strong military, and in that vacuum, what you start seeing is these extremists trying to take advantage. And what I've said at Chris Stevens' funeral, alongside the 3 others who were killed, was that we're not going to shrink back from the world because of this. We are going to hunt down those who did this. We will bring them to justice. We will make sure that we do everything we have to do to protect our embassies and our diplomatic posts, but we're going to stay engaged, because ultimately, over the long term, our security is going to be tied up with the success of these countries and getting their act together and being able to deliver for their people, and we've got to be a part of that.
I have to ask you, Mr. President, because, there have been, as we were saying, all of these sort of big protests all over the world, but my question really has to do with here, because a lot of people talk about freedom of speech and we should be able to say anything that we want to say. But how do you explain to the American people that it's not just the freedom to say whatever you want to say, but to be thoughtful about the consequences? Because whether it was terroristic or not in Libya, something stirred folks up. And these other folks who are around the world protesting, they're angry. So how do we, as Americans, how do we like figure out that sometimes things we say have terrible consequences, as they did in Libya?
Well, look, the first thing is there's never an excuse for violence. I don't care how offensive this video was, and it was terribly offensive. And we should shun it. But there's never an excuse for violence, never an excuse for attacking embassies, never an excuse for killing innocent people or assaulting our diplomats. In the age of the internet, and the way that any knucklehead who says something can post it up and suddenly it travels all around the world.
Right.
Every country has to recognize that the best way to marginalize that kind of speech is to ignore it, or to speak out against it and use words to counteract those words and to affirm, that we respect all religions. Now, having said that, you're absolutely right, Whoopi, that us showing respect for other people, us being thoughtful about other people's traditions, is something that Michelle and I try to teach our kids. You talked about what we talk about over the dinner table. A lot of what we talk about over the dinner table is, we live in a diverse world, and you have to try to understand other people and stand in their shoes. And you don't make yourself bigger by putting other people down, and you certainly don't make yourself bigger by putting down someone that they consider their prophet any more than Christians here would appreciate if somebody's going around desecrating or putting down our religion. And so we do have to have those kinds of sensitivities.
President Obama, I want to bring it around to First Lady, because we know how difficult your husband's job is. What are the difficulties of being the First Lady?
I find it really hard in the face of what he's going through and what I see happening to folks when they're struggling, for me to even begin to complain. I have the best job because I don't have to make the hard decisions. The issues that I pick are ones that I feel passionately about. I get to pick and choose what I do, which is why, I love what I do. I get to spend time in this country, traveling around, meeting kids. You see me, I'm jumping rope and hula hooping.
That's true.
So it's hard for me knowing, how what struggle is to even answer that with a straight face.
Someday she should run for office, but she said she doesn't want to.
Yeah, look, Michelle would be terrific, but temperamentally, I just don't think that.
Wait, no, it's absolutely true. It takes a lot of patience to be the president of the United States, and I'm not that patient. I am not.
On that note, can you be a little bit more patient, because we got to come back and ask you some more questions.
Okay.
The president, I'm sorry, the president and First Lady are staying with us, and we'll be right back.
That's on it.
Should Snooki run as mayor of Wazilla?
I gotta admit, I don't know who Snooki is.
What's the controversial sex book that's on millions of women's bedside tables? He doesn't know.
I don't know that.
Good. Okay, next.
But I'll ask Michelle when I get home.
We are back with President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. Now, President Obama, you said that this whole experience as a president, normally, I would think that might tear a marriage apart, but you said that it has strengthened your marriage rather than diminished it. How is that?
Well, part of it is actually that we spend more time together in some ways now than we did earlier in our marriage, because you know, I live above the store.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a 30-second commute, which means that me being home for dinner is a lot easier. I think that, you know, having gone through the kinds of struggles that you go through in this office means Michelle and I, you know, talk about the big stuff, but we don't sweat the small stuff. And some of it, look, we've just been married 20 years. I mean, 20 years is, you know, you get to a point where if you've made it through some of the tough times, the bond that you've got and the trust that you have is so much deeper now than it was back when, you know, you were just getting to know each other and hadn't been through some of those tough times, and you just thought, you know, each other were cute.
And she wins every argument.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you guys have a ritual. I'm writing this down for my husband so he can do it, so I can win the arguments. But you guys have a ritual where, now, First Lady, you go to bed at 10 o'clock in the evening. Your husband comes to bed at 1 in the morning, but you have a ritual where he tucks you in at night?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that?
What happens?
What
then?
happens?
I'm telling you that.
I'm thinking this might work for mine.
I'm not telling you that. No, that's extra time we get with each other too, because we do a lot of tucking. So the girls are, I'm ready to be tucked, I'm ready to be tucked. So he's got to come and tuck Sasha in, and Malia's away from tucking because she's usually the last one up doing homework.
She's turning into a night owl like me.
Yeah. So Malia tucks me, and she goes to bed, and then Barack will come in. So it's sort of our last, you know, check-in
It's
before.
good to know that's coming, too. Like, guarantee every day. You said Malia is staying up late. I know she's also went to tennis. But are you planning on coaching Sasha again in basketball?
The Vipers are going to be, I think, undefeated again this year.
How are they looking?
That's what they're called, the Vipers.
So let me ask you, what's more challenging, coaching up the girls on the court or trying to get everybody in Congress to get on the same page?
No contest.
Okay.
The girls, you know, they play like a team.
Great.
So I'm just saying. But, Congress could take some lessons from the Vipers in terms of, you know, they pass the ball, they high-five each other. You know, but they're doing great, and the girls are thriving. Malia has gotten into tennis, and so she's really enjoying that. And gosh, it happens so fast. They just. You know, and they're now at the point where they still love their daddy, so
At a distance.
but they'll come in strategically.
Yeah.
They'll kind of come in and say, "Sit down. How you doing, Daddy?" and kiss me, and they'll have like a little 5-minute conversation. Then okay.
All right,
Bye.
that's enough.
Okay, that's enough. And then they'll go. You know, it's like they're not at the point where they're being surly or anything.
No.
It's just like, okay,
Goodbye, Daddy.
I'm going to give you
Limited time.
I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then I got to go.
Yeah, 5 minutes, now go save the world.
I've got to go.
Well, we still have more to ask you. The President and First Lady are staying with us, and we'll be right back.
Michelle gets jealous when I sing too much. You know, she thinks this is kind of a private thing. I'm so in love with you.
We are back with that amazing crooner, President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. So this is going to be really your last campaign for president, and win or lose, what do you think you're going to be doing in about 5 years? What would you like to be doing in the next?
I'll go on a long vacation.
Any
I'm
place in
serious.
particular?
Yeah. You know what? I've said this before, but I want us to retrace our honeymoon. You know, we're in a car. We started from San Francisco, drove down Highway 1, stopped in Big Sur, and stopped in. We stopped all the way, ended in L.A. And we spent about a week in a car together, eating good food, drinking wine.
Yeah, but then back to Chicago. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Well, you know, first things first here. We do have an election ahead, and there are all kinds of things I want to do in a second term. Putting folks back to work and making sure our schools are up to snuff, and you know,
then?
we've got another war to wrap up. You know, in a post-presidency, the thing that I think I would enjoy most is spending time working with kids. I love teaching. I miss teaching, and you know, I'm not sure it'll necessarily be in a classroom, but the idea of being able to go around in various cities and helping to create mentorships and apprenticeships and just giving young people this sense of possibility. Something along those lines I think I'd really enjoy doing.
We thank you for honoring all of us. We're all very happy to have had you here. Come back anytime. You can come back without him, too. It's okay.
Happy birthday, Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you.
You've made it not so bad getting older. Thanks to President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. Have a great day, everyone. Take a little time to enjoy the day.
Generations from now, we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when we began to provide care for the sick and put jobs for the jobless. This was the moment when the rise of the ocean began to slow and our planet began to heal. This was the moment when we ended the war and secured our nation and restored our image as the last best hope on earth.